Hey, bud. Wow. Hey, everybody.
Hey, hey.
How are you? Boy, it was great. Like, since I hung up with you 5-10 minutes ago,
Yeah,
just getting pounded, man, in terms of I just never busier.
that's awesome.
Yeah, I
Day's
feel like,
gonna go by quick.
yeah, it's not enough hours in the day right now.
I hear you, man.
You know, be careful what you ask for, huh?
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
I hope if I close out this window, I'm not going to close anything out. I'm too nervous to close anything out. Cancel. Okay. Right now, there's only a few of us in here. How's your day going, Todd? You busy?
Well, just starting really with some of that. I mean, so, did our Zoom call this morning, but then it's just been gearing up to call back, following up with some other stuff. I think I finally got I started focusing on probate leads for Listing Source, and I got my first. I think I'll have my first listing here in the next day or two. I got my second appointment coming up as well. So yeah.
Good for you.
So yeah, it's only had to put in about 3 weeks worth of work to finally see some results. So
if it's too easy, it's not worth anything, right?
That's right. So yep. Hey, I gotta jump.
I think my son who's out here visiting me, I think if I say one more of those things, like if it's too easy to come by, it's not worth anything. Yeah. I think he's going to wind up getting in a plane and going back to California. He's like, Dad, I just don't want to hear it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to sleep. I want it to come easy. I just, So, all right, guys, we're going to start in a minute. A lot of information I'm going to convey to you today. It's good seeing everybody. Hey, Jimmy, how are you?
Good, good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yep.
Perfect.
Jim, Vicky. Hey, guys.
Eric, real quick. Are you doing your talent attraction call Wednesday afternoon or not this week?
I am driving to Atlanta tomorrow with my poor kid, 10 hours in the car. I'm having I'm having my mouth redone. I'm doing reconstructive work in my mouth. So I'm probably not going to do it, Jimmy. I don't know if I'm going to be able to talk. I'm really concerned about this class on Friday. I may have to move it to Monday. I unfortunately snapped one of my front teeth and they have to do a bone graft. So I don't know. I definitely am not going to do the call Wednesday, but in terms of Friday's call, I'm hoping that I will be well enough to do that. All right, guys, it's good to see everybody. So before we delve into today's lesson, I'm going to cover two important things today. One is I'm going to cover your open house presentation. And the second thing I'm going to cover is what I call your pre-listing packet. So two really, really important tools. Before I get started with today's class, first of all, I want to tell you how much I'm enjoying having everyone participate. I never thought I would enjoy a Zoom call so much. Again, my background has always been doing live classes and flying back and forth between both coasts, but I'm really, really enjoying the Zoom and everybody's participation. So before I delve into today's two lessons on open houses and what we call your pre-listing packet, I wanted to inquire, any questions, please feel free. Again, I'm simply here to facilitate. Any questions about what I covered in the first three classes? As you recall, I really covered a lot. I talked about your economic model and performance tracker. I talked about essential tools. We went into the 7 or 8 different ways to lead generate, prospect, or business develop. And then in the last class, I did both your drip campaign and the importance of honoring your calendar. So before we get into today's class, any questions, that you have, or any clarity that you'd like from me? Nobody?
I can't think of anything. It's really just implementation.
It is. I'm trying to drill down and make it as natural and easy as possible for you. But I want to make sure that I'm here in a position to answer any questions for anybody before we move forward. So nobody has any questions about what I've covered thus far?
I don't have a question, but I have to say I thought that all the activities for a week seemed like overwhelming. But I think that, you know, once I started dissecting it a little bit better, it wasn't as bad. But the list seems a bit overwhelming. Yeah.
You know, Patty, thanks for saying that, and I want to address that. Again, I love when you guys ask questions because I think it brings up so much for us to talk about. I want you to keep in mind that my mic, Sherry Green, my mic is not working. Sherry, try to hit the unmute button, but I do see your message. You know, Patty, I want to tell you, I know that happens sometimes, and I think that for that reason, we do absolutely see some attrition in the class. Remember that, you know, the walk of 1,000 miles starts with the very first few steps that you take. So if I were to break this down for you, if I were to go back in the market, which I've done, right? I just moved from California to Miami. I would be very specific in terms of what I did. So I really like that Land Voice program a lot. I like the fact that it has a defined audience and you know precisely with what benefit, how to approach that for sale by owner in an effort to capture all of the buyers that are not suitable for their property and put yourself in a position to ultimately list their property, which typically happens, right? Most people don't wind up selling their homes by themselves. Second thing I liked, and I talked about this before, was REO Rockstars. I believe we as an industry are going to see lots and lots of REOs. I think you need to start building relationships today with REO asset managers to put yourself in a position to take lots and lots of listings, right? The other thing that I talked about was hitting expireds and calling or door knocking 20 homes around each, 20 homes around an expired listing, your open houses, or properties that have just been listed or sold. So take off small bites, Patty. Don't allow yourself to feel overwhelmed. But I understand, I mean, I'm covering a tremendous amount of information in 6 classes. I'm actually teaching 2 lessons in every class. It's almost like getting a master's in real estate. So there is a tremendous amount of information, but I want you guys to feel again that you have access to me and you can do this online or you can call me on my cell phone. You can talk offline. I'm addressing a lot of things. I had a great call today with Michael. Had a great call the other day with many of you where we really kind of broke down what action to take in order to hit your goals. So if you're not clear about that, please reach out to me and set a one-on-one with me. I'd love to look at your business, take you by the hand and show you some action or suggest some action items for you to take to ensure that you receive the results that you're seeking.
So Eric, if I hear you correctly, you're saying that it's best to look at the overall list and decide which activities are the best ones to focus on and do that.
Yeah, what I'd like you to do is start with a couple and then monitor them. I want you to use the prospecting tracker, Patty, so you could see which methodology is yielding you the best results.
Okay.
So not necessarily what you like. I care what's working for you, right?
Right.
So we want to monitor what is really, really working for you and then do the same thing over and over again. Play to your strength.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yep.
Anybody else, guys? Nada? Nobody? Okay. Let's talk about open houses. I'm sure we could all agree, right? Open houses. When I first started in the business, you know, one of the many real estate coaches or trainers that I listened to is Mike Ferry, and he was adamant about not doing open houses because he considered it to be an inactive method of prospecting, that you were waiting for people to come to you, and if people didn't come in, there was no business to be had. I actually use my open houses as a way to drive prospects to me in droves. And the nice aspect about the open house materials that I'm going to cover with you today is this is a script that you don't have to internalize. I want you to simply ask appropriate questions on your open houses. I want you to make eye contact with people. I want you to speak slowly. And if you have to, fake it until you make it and ask very penetrating questions so you can feel empowered and determine if that person is worthy of you spending time, effort, and resources to enhance a relationship. it is not right for everybody. You know, I'll sometimes walk into an open house and I'll look at a realtor and it looks like they have a bad case of Tourette's, where they're running up to people, practically tackling them. You know, did you sign my open house book? Well, folks, I mean, the reality is, what do you think most people are signing away? What they're saying, Michael, is that their name typically is Mickey Mouse and they live at Disneyland. They're not putting forth accurate and precise information. What I want you to do, instead of reaching out to everybody, I want your time to be spent in terms of thinking about quality, not quantity. I would rather you identify 4 or 5 people in the 4 hours you're going to spend at an open house. When you leave that open house saying, I really connected with those people and I feel like they're potentially viable for me to work on their behalf. What I don't care about is having 80 names on a register where they're providing you bogus information. So I want your time to be really, really well spent going forward. The goal in an open house is not open house and then car to show property. The goal is at an open house is to spend time with that person, interviewing them, if you will, and deciding whether or not, again, you want to move the relationship forward. And moving the relationship forward means doing what we call a buyer's consultation, which is very in-depth. It's doing a proper needs analysis. It is really examining that person, looking at their body language and understanding that's healthy working relationship or proper expectations have been put in place. Let's take a peek at the open house. I'm going to share my screen with you here for a second.
I'm sorry, Eric. I'm still stuck on the 4 hours part.
So, are your open houses longer than 4 hours?
No, mine are usually only 2.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, 2 or 3, depending on the traffic flow.
Gotcha. I mean, I think my typical open house was typically around 4 hours, Todd.
Right.
But my mindset, again, I think that's what I want to get through. My mindset is not about quantity; it's quality. Leaving that open house feeling like not only did I have people coming through, but that I identified a group, an audience of people that I will have the opportunity to work with.
Oh,
not
for sure.
that I have to go back and look at a register.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you, Eric. I mean, when I do an open house right, I'll usually get 2 or 3 more transactions from it. That's when I know I've held one right.
Yeah, I could tell you in Vicki Jackson's area, there's an agent up there, Nicole Solari. Vicki, you may want to chime in here. I'm going to stop sharing for a second. And Nicole has really built her business, correct me if I'm wrong, by doing broker opens and open houses. I mean, did them consistently when she started in the business, and now does 300 plus transactions a year.
That's
in
awesome.
The Solano County area. Is that fair, Vicki? Is that an accurate assessment?
Yeah, I mean, she does a lot of other things, but yeah, open houses is definitely, her team does it. Yeah.
One of her go-to methodologies to building out her business, especially when she was new. So I'm a big proponent of open houses, only if you do certain things that I'm going to talk about in this document with you.
So
go ahead. I'm sorry, Todd.
I was going to ask, so how's that working out now with COVID-19? At least here in Washington, I mean, I know we're still shut down. We can't host open houses.
Yeah. I mean,
I just bought all my stinking signs. I spent like $400 so I'd have like 20 open house signs, and got all geared up to go to add that as my new free or near free, lead generation. And then of course coronavirus hit, and now everything's just still sitting there.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely going to be, it's going to take a while until we kind of sort things out with the coronavirus. Yeah. I mean, but the reality, I mean, this too shall pass. I mean, I don't know time length, I don't have a crystal ball, but inevitably, again, these are tools and systems that you're going to want to implement into your business as things begin to normalize, and it's not going to stay wacky like this forever. I think we all know that.
Definitely.
Okay, so on your open houses, couple of objectives to look at. So why do people hold open houses? Why do realtors hold open houses? It's actually to get listing leads. 44% of the people that come through your open houses are in fact sellers. These are sellers that are trying to determine what they can afford and if the subject neighborhood is of interest to them. So again, this is a great way to build up your listing inventory. 44% of the people coming through your home are in fact sellers or listing opportunities. Buyer leads, 93, and I believe that number is actually higher. Buyer leads, 93% of the people that come through the property that you're holding open will buy a property other than the one that they're visiting or your open house. So again, 93% buy other properties than the open house being visited, which means that selling the subject property happens less than 7% of the time from holding these open houses. Does that make sense? And lastly, the open house is often conducted in order to appease the seller. And I'm going to strongly encourage you, your goal isn't to appease. You always want to be professional. You always want to be kind. You always want to approach relationships from the right mindset. But to hold an open house, to sit in somebody else's pigsty, if you will, or to hold an open house that doesn't have strong visibility makes absolutely zero sense. But if Vicki said to me, hey, Eric, I want you to hold my open house, and I didn't think that, and Vicki is my client, it was not in Vicki's best interest, I wouldn't say to her, no, Vicki, I'm not going to do that. What I would do is I would pose it to her in the form of a question. I would say, Vicki, you know, your home shows absolutely beautiful. I'm sure we could agree that your home is in a very private setting. Correct? If your home is in a very private setting, it's typically not going to be very visible to potential buyers to come through. The 3 or 4 or 5 hours that I'm going to sit in your open house, time may simply be better spent for me to go out there and do what we call demographic marketing, looking perhaps for a move-up buyer or perhaps a buyer that came from another area. So don't use your open houses to appease a seller. Make sure that your time is well spent. The key ingredients to holding a successful open house is, one, select the right property to hold open. And Jimmy, what do you think I mean by that? Jimmy Tam, what do I mean select the right property to hold open?
Well, you should have it at a, like a single family house versus like a condo, right? Something that's easily accessible.
That's a key. So good ingress, good egress, clean, right? Shows really well off the bat, because first impressions go a long, long way. But something with really good ingress, something with good egress, strong visibility. Number 2, invite your entire database in an effort to see if they know of a friend, a relative, or a coworker that might have an interest in moving to the area. Pedro, why else do you think that I'm going to invite my entire database if I'm going to hold an open house? What message am I trying to convey to them?
I just want to let everybody know that I am a realtor. I want to put my name out there.
Not just a realtor, Pedro, but an active realtor, that somebody has entrusted me with their property. It builds credibility without saying to somebody, hey, Patty Norton, my name is Eric, and I'm a really credible guy. You don't have to articulate those words. Your actions will dictate that you're credible. So you're going to want to invite everybody into your database when you're holding an open house to indicate that you're an active agent and have credibility. A key for me, and this is where my business really kind of diverted from what Mike Ferry was teaching. I door knock with a flyer, and if I'm going to hold an open house, what I'm going to do is I'm going to invite 150 to 200 of the surrounding neighbors to that open house to ensure that I have activity in the property in an effort to see if they happen to know of a friend, a relative, or a coworker. Again, it's also an opportunity as I'm engaging with those people and inviting them to the open house, using the general prospecting script as a means of identifying a potential audience of sellers that have the need for my services and are receptive to doing business with me. Does that make sense?
Question, Eric.
Please.
So to do that, to invite the 150, 200 surrounding neighbors, you said that you will knock the door of all those 150, or you will deliver the flyers? How would you invite?
I would door knock with a flyer, and if they were not home, Pedro, I'd put the flyer right in the door jamb. But my goal is to engage them so I can bring them to the general prospecting script. Hey, Pedro, I'm stopping by today to simply invite you. Were you aware that your neighbor's home was on the market at 1313 Mockingbird Lane?
No.
Well, Pedro, I wanted to bring to your attention, it's being held open this Sunday, and I wanted to pop by to invite you to stop by the open house, by any chance would you be available on Sunday from 1 to 4 to pop by to see if perhaps you know of a friend, a relative, or coworker that may have an interest in moving to our neighborhood?
Eric, I would love to, but I have my son's game specifically at that time.
I totally understand. I'm more than happy to do a private showing if that works for you. But Pedro, I'm also committed to reaching out to 150 to 200 of our surrounding neighbors to see if they perhaps know of a friend, a relative, or a coworker. Having said that, common sense is going to dictate I'm going to identify a new group or a new glut of buyers. Have you given any thought to perhaps selling your home either now or in the near future? And I'm going to take them directly to the general prospecting script so I could start building that all-important database.
Awesome.
Does that make sense? Make sense, Pedro?
Yes, it does. Absolutely.
Awesome. Number 4, use all social media forums to promote that the open house is being held open. Blast it out. I mean, absolutely everywhere. Let the world know that you're busy, and also in an effort, in an attempt to drive traffic to your open house. Number 5, and this is a key for me, I bet you I spent as much time putting up signs and directionals to my open houses. Now I'm going to know that somebody on the call is going to say, Eric, there are city ordinances and you can only put up so many signs. I would litter, and I mean absolutely litter the neighborhood with directionals that had my name, my face, my logo, and my tagline on the directional. I would create what I would call a human billboard effect. Remember that repetition is the mother of learning. The more people see your name, see your face, and identify you as being a real estate professional, when a need arises for them to purchase or sell property, they'll immediately start thinking of you more often. So I want you to use your open houses to litter an area and get your name, your face out in the community as often as possible. I want people to go, wow, that person's name is everywhere. What message does that convey? Post your open house on your real estate website. And lastly, make sure that house is clean and shows as good as possible. I'm going to go through your open house script with you. Hopefully what you're going to like about this is you don't have to memorize this. All you have to have is a nice leather binder and keep your script right in the binder. I want you to show people that you're organized. I want you to show people that you're professional. I want you to show people that you're well thought out in the questions that you're posing to them. So I want you to muster up as much courage as you can, but I want you to make really strong eye contact with somebody. I want you to make good eye contact. I want you not to talk a lot. I want you to ask questions. I want you to ask appropriate questions so you can feel empowered whether or not you want to move that relationship forward. And I want you to speak slowly, because when you're speaking slowly, you're more in control of a conversation. Would you not agree? So I want you to go through your open house script. Again, take the time to let them speak. The goal here is not to talk a lot. The goal is to be a good listener. Remember that selling, regardless of the industry, regardless of the product or service, selling is about solving people's problems and meeting people's needs. And the only way to solve a problem and meet a need is to ask appropriate questions so you can uncover those problems and uncover those needs. This is your time to be a good listener. I want you to think of yourself. I was with a friend a couple of weeks ago, man, and I was asking questions and they're providing me information, and it was like I could have sat there and ate buttered popcorn, right? You want to feel like you're that you are watching somebody and they're on stage, not you. It's not your performance. It is them conveying information to you. What you're going to do is remember, your goal is to build a rapport with somebody. Does anyone remember the acronym to ask people in order to build that rapport?
Ford. Chevy?
Ford.
Who said Chevy? It is Ford, asking people questions about their family, their occupation, their recreation, and their dreams. Spend a couple of minutes. You don't want to just dive into the questions. You want to kind of break that ice comfortably. And remember, when you're asking questions and somebody is sharing, then that means that they're illustrating that they're comfortable with you. But if you're talking at somebody, you don't know if they're comfortable or not. So get somebody conveying, get somebody speaking and engaging with you. Again, these are all questions that I'm going to take you through. This is your open house script. There are 5 components, and I'm going to repeat this in your listing presentation and your buyer consultation. There are 5 components to a selling cycle. Number 1 is building a rapport with somebody. They're going to do business with you if they like you, if they trust you, and if they deem you as being competent and responsive. Number 2 is the second component of a selling cycle is understanding that person's motivation. You can't motivate someone to take action if they're not motivated. Third component is doing a proper needs analysis. And if your questions are detailed, if your questions are direct, somebody will provide you a roadmap how to lead them and take you to a pot of gold. The fourth component of a selling cycle is setting healthy and proper expectations and working with people that are not going to sabotage your business. And the fifth component of a selling cycle is get a commitment. Don't be committed to somebody who's not committed to you. It's kind of like a personal relationship. Okay? When I ask any one of the following questions of the open house script, it's going to fall into one of those 5 buckets. I'm either building a rapport, I'm testing motivation, I'm doing a needs analysis, I'm setting expectations, or I'm getting a commitment. How long have you been searching for a home? How long, Will Estrada, have you been searching for a home? Oh, Eric, I've been looking for about 7 years now. Probably not a great sign that you want to invest a lot of time and effort. What am I asking? Why am I asking them this question? What am I doing?
Unframe. See when they want to move.
Understand their motivation. Do I want to work with somebody? If you've been looking for 7 years, do I want to carry around that weight on my shoulders? That conveys to me who I'm talking with. Now, I'll ask more questions. Maybe they have a reason for that. But that is a potential red flag where I may want to back up a little from that relationship. Question number 2, how are you going about searching for properties now? So I know I'm going to say something for right now. I'm going to actually look at you. I'm going to stop sharing for a second. I want to look at your expressions here. So when you ask that question, a lot of time, somebody is going to say to you what? I'm working with a realtor. Folks, I want to be really clear what I'm about to say, and I have never stolen a client from somebody who did not want to be stolen. We don't own our clients. We are given the opportunity to be of service. We are simply given the opportunity to be of service, but we do not own our clients. If you have a client that is going out to an open house, you should be aware of that, and you should give them a stack of business cards, and they should be crystal clear that they are working with you as their real estate professional. Conversely, if one of your clients came into my open house and they were not crystal clear that they were working with you, there is a very good chance that they would leave my open house, no longer working with you. And I don't do that to steal or to take something that's not mine, but we don't own our clients. We're given the opportunity to be of service. So you need to be crystal clear with your clients that they need to convey, if they're going to go to open houses, that they're working with you, that you are representing them in the sale of their property, and in the purchase of their property. Does that make sense? And you don't steal somebody. I mean, I typically ask very penetrating questions. Oh, I understand that. So I hear what you're saying, that you're working with Noel. May I ask, do you believe that your time is best served going from open house to open house? Or do you deem that it's the responsibility of your real estate professional to provide you with homes that best matches your needs and wants so your time is well spent? So I would ask very penetrating questions.
Wow.
Say that again.
Pow, pow, pow.
You know, and again, I know that some agents may raise their eyes and goes, wow, I can't believe he's going to purge my clients. I'm not purging. I'm asking an appropriate question. And if they're not happy with the level of service that's being provided to them, they may simply respond accordingly.
Eric, I'm curious.
Yep.
How do you know when the client's your client?
So I'm going to take you through a buyer's presentation. Anybody that I work with, and again, this is a little unconventional. I don't want to deviate too much, Todd. It's a great question you asked me. I'm not a big believer in the buyer-broker agreement. I have a buyer sign what's called the buyer's pledge. It's kind of like, Todd, when you got married, remember when you and the wife went through, do you promise to honor and obey to death do you part? I wasn't too good on that. That's why I've been married a couple of times. But what do they say? Do you promise to honor and obey, yada, 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 to death do you part? Is that it, Adama? I have a buyer sign what's called the buyer's pledge. And I've never spent a whole lot of time and effort throwing a contract in front of somebody. And the reason being is the following. If Vicki Jackson is my client and I get Vicki to sign a contract with me and Vicki decides she absolutely despises me, she does not want to work with me, why in God's name am I going to force Vicki into a relationship that she doesn't want to be? Because at the end of the day, she's ultimately going to be able to break that contract, right?
Sure.
Or not purchase a house, just put it in the back burner. And if I try to force her to work with me, all I'm going to do is tarnish my brand. So I use what's called a buyer's pledge. And the buyer's pledge sets expectations, what that buyer should expect from me, what I should expect from that buyer, and that we mutually agree that we choose to work together. To me, it's a lot more palatable to digest than having them sign a contract.
Well,
Stella?
Eric,
Yep.
down here in North Carolina, we have to do, first of all, the working with real estate agents disclosure, which
Yep.
talks about agency. And just a matter of course, I always have them sign an agreement because in North Carolina, we need to declare who our client is and whose best interest we're working for. And with you as my client, I cannot share any information that you give me that would put you at a disadvantage. Without that agreement, right?
That's pretty common, Adama, throughout the nation in terms of agency relationship. My concern is sometime when we first meet with a buyer, we meet them at a coffee shop, we invite them to the office, and 15 minutes later, we have a contract in front of them. And that just seems awkward to me. So I don't want somebody working with me because a contract is going to hold us together. I want to feel like somebody has a pledge, that there's a connection between us and that there are healthy expectations or business boundaries in place and that we choose together. And I've been using a buyer's pledge for years and years. And I just feel it's much more palatable. It's much more easy for a buyer to digest than saying, hey, this is a guarantee that you're going to work for me. No, I want them to work with me because they feel connected to me. Because we have a healthy working relationship where expectations have been set up front, Adama. Does that make sense? Stella, were you going to ask something?
Yes.
Stella, were you going to ask something?
I have a comment.
Vicki, what do you got for me?
Well, I used to do it both ways, have it where they had to sign a contract and it just didn't feel comfortable for me because I always think of how I would feel like if someone was putting something in front of me. So when I explain it to my buyers, I tell them that it's kind of like we're going to be in a relationship for the next 3 months or so. So in any relationship, it's like you have the choice that you want to continue with the relationship. I have the choice if I want to continue with the relationship. It's like, but you don't cheat on me. It's like, we're not going to be cheating on each other. I'm not going to cheat on you. You're not going to cheat on me. We're going to be in a committed relationship. And that seems to really work for people because they'll even say, like, when they go to open houses and stuff, they're like, oh no, we can't cheat on Vicki. We have to make sure that, we remain faithful. And I'm faithful to them. They're faithful to me. And I mean, 9 times out of 10, they don't go anywhere else and I don't go anywhere else. And so I get to seal that relationship.
That's because they're afraid of you. They know that you'd beat the crap out of them, Vic. Vicki's a great agent, but what's the operative word? I mean, I love when you guys interject because I learned so much. What is the operative word what Vicki just said over and over again? She's built a
Relationship.
relationship, man.
Relationship.
She's not looking at people as paychecks. She's not doing a deal. That's the ugliest word, a deal. You know, I feel like I'm a streetwalker when I say that. It's not a deal. Vicky's building a relationship with people. And she wants that relationship to be wholesome. And if you come at it from that place of giving, man, you just receive over and over again. The positive hits keep on coming. It's not a deal. Don't focus on slamming somebody into a home. Focus on building a relationship and understanding their needs and wants. And I promise you, they'll be your client in perpetuity. Stella, what were you going to say?
I just want to tell you, because I'm in New York and I come back to the business after some years. There happened to me occasions that I lost a lot of money because I didn't go with the exclusive buyers agreement. When they went and they bought it with other people and they share probably and kick back the commission because it was big money, because here the properties are expensive. So it was very discouraging for me. So I do believe that I don't like to have contracts for the relationship. I like to respect what I offer them, but somehow you have to be compensated if you do a lot of work and then easily they go with another, what happened to me, just to share the, the money.
Stella, I understand your concern. I'm from New York. I was born and raised in New York until I was 18. And then I moved to California. So I know it well. And my family's in real estate in New York City. So I completely understand what you're conveying. Having said that, I think at the end of the day, and you've got a very nice way about you. I'm not asking you to be a wallflower. What I'm going to ask you to do in your buyer's consultation is ask very, very direct questions where, Stella, you're almost going to hit them politely in the head with a 2x4 to know that they want to be involved in a healthy relationship, like Vicky said, where they're not cheating on you. Listen, in the same way that I would not let my significant other cheat on me, nor would anybody else on the call, I'm not going to have my client cheat on me. But that only comes from asking. When they sign that buyer's pledge, not a contract.
These New Yorker clients, they're not like that, Eric. They say, no, I'm so grateful for what you, because I come from a background of analytics. I have studied civil economics, so I'm very naive with the relationship with human beings, but I can offer good knowledge and analysis from CCNY I have studied. So it was very helpful for me, and I came to a point that I stopped doing business for that.
Listen, I understand, Stella. Will, what do you got for me, buddy?
Sorry to interrupt now your conversation, but that's if I can offer something to the people, because it's not nice to work for nothing, because our time is valuable. You offer, knowledge and good work. It is very heartbroken when you go, the same property was gone and it was bought with another broker, and of course, you can go into, you have a lawyer, but who likes to do that?
Well, before you respond, I want to respond quickly, Stella, to this by saying that I've always felt in my life, Stella, and not to sound like a preacher, if somebody stole or took something from me, they needed it more than I did. And I feel that I'm trying to be so clear in terms of intentions and setting healthy expectations. That sometimes if somebody gets one over on me, oh well, they needed it more than me. But at least I have an easy time looking myself in the mirror.
That's lovely, but I didn't feel that way when it
I
happened. I will be sincere. I was devastated, but it's a way of looking at it.
No, I understand. Well,
I follow your advice. Thank you.
No, Stella, listen, I don't want to negate what you're saying. Believe me, when somebody takes something, it hurts, right? It bothers, but I'm not trying to minimize your feelings at all. I hear you. Well, what do you have, bud?
Well, I think the very important thing is the questions that you ask. And again, the commitment that you get with a buyer's pledge. If you are in an area where it is customary for people to get a buyer's representation agreement, do it if you can. But again, a lot of people, at least, I know they're not willing to do that because, again, they feel forced to be into something that they don't want to be. And at least I'm the kind of person that if you force me to do something, I'm unhappy already.
But are you happy to work for free for 2 or 3 months?
No, I understand. You don't want to work for free.
Taxes and pay, and out of your own pocket, lunches and everything. This people, and then to work.
I understand. I understand, Stella, what you're saying. I mean, it's not easy. It's not easy to swallow that. Jim, what do you have?
don't want to lose.
I was just going to say, at the end of the day, these things are really, even though legally they're enforceable, they're unenforceable, because what you really do in the risk reward, balance between is it really worth going to court over $1,200 or $1,500 and trashing your own reputation over somebody that doesn't want to work with you anyhow? I mean, and that's kind of the way I put it to people is I say, look, we're going to sign an agreement. That's exactly what it is. But at the end of the day, it's really not enforceable because I'm not going to ruin my reputation if you don't want to work with me. It's just that simple.
I agree.
The property that you showed.
Well,
That's
but it is. But I don't want to be working.
costs.
But if they're going to do that while I'm showing them properties, at the end of the day, when it comes to closing and negotiating inspection items, whatever else it might be, they're going to be the same way then. And I don't know if I want to be involved with them.
Thank you.
Guys, I don't want to get too stung up with this guy. I've got a ton to I have a ton to go over today, and I know we could debate this. This is like politics. So I want to make sure that, just how I run my business is using a buyer pledge. But again, these are recommendations.
This buyer pledge, please, because it's milder probably than the exclusive agreement that we use for the buyer.
I'll absolutely. So next class, I'm going to do open house, Stella, in this class. Then I'm going to do your pre-listing packet. And then on Wednesday's class, I'm going to do your listing and buyer presentation.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Question number 3. Have you seen any properties that are of interest to you? Have you identified any properties that are of interest to you? Noel, what would be a good follow-up question to that? If they say, yes, I have, what would be a natural good follow-up question?
Which area?
Well, what areas or what about them did you find compelling?
Okay.
Remember, we're sifting for gold. Guys, I want you to think of yourselves as doctors, right? And the more questions that you ask, the more you're going to be able to find their pain points and how to diagnose their problems. Are you exploring any other areas? Noel, you were on point here. Watch your next question. You were ahead of me by 1. Are you exploring any other areas? And if so, what areas are of interest to you? Well, Eric, I'm going to use California, for example. I'm looking in San Diego, San Francisco. I may think about LA and Sacramento. I'm probably not going to invest a whole lot of time into the relationship. I want to work with people that are clear about what they want, and I want to be clear about how I could best assist them. So I'm going to want to know that they have an interest in purchasing in the area where I have a specialization.
Nothing's worse than dealing with a buyer that doesn't know what they want.
Right? So, but then if we don't know that, we haven't drilled down, Todd, and asked the appropriate questions to identify that. That fault is then ours. We own that. Right, bud?
Absolutely.
Question number 5, one of my favorite questions. So I know that you've been looking for about 7 years. May I ask, why haven't you purchased anything as of yet? It's a great question to ask. What's inhibited you? Why haven't you purchased anything as of yet? Stella, if you found the perfect home, how soon would you like to move in? Well, Eric, I'm not going to do anything for 6 months. What would be a good follow-up question? Well, Stella, I'm sure you're aware what's typically in the market today with homes being on the market for only 91 days. They're typically not going to be in the market in 6 months. What has you in the market today looking? What is the price range of a property that you would like to purchase? I'm going to actually add another question to this. How did you determine that price point?
Sorry, I can't see your screen. Are you sharing it? Can everybody else see it?
Can you guys see the rest? Noel?
I can see the
Yeah,
screen.
we can see it.
I see
Yeah, I
it.
can see it.
Yeah, I can see it.
Hey, Adama, I'll go through this with you as well. You're gonna get a full copy of this. I want you to take in the questions. I typically don't even show the document, so don't worry about it. You'll have every one of these questions. I want you to understand why I'm asking the question, the psychology of selling, and the order in which I'm asking them. So have you spoken with a lender to establish your purchasing power and to get pre-approved? The next question is a critical question that I'm going to ask them, and it's like saying, I've got a secret sauce. This tells me, are they really engaged? I'm aware of a few additional homes coming on the market. Would you like me to set up a showing so you could see them? when is the most convenient time to show you these properties? Do I often know of properties that are coming on the market that day? No. But do new homes come on the market each and every day? Right?
Yes.
So you are aware of new homes that will be coming on the market because you're going to look for them. Okay. I find it really interesting when an agent tells a buyer what they have to do. You never want to tell anything. I want you to think, when somebody tells you something, don't you feel like, whoa, whoa, whoa? I feel
I'm
like
doing the exact opposite.
Say that again, Todd?
I said I'm doing the exact opposite.
Exactly.
You're telling?
If somebody's telling me what to do, I'm doing the exact opposite. That's just
Exactly. Exactly. So then don't tell people what to do.
Yeah.
Convey a point in the form of a question. Like when somebody says, you know, when we find a home and it's suitable for you and you determine it's a home you want to live in, we're going to have to write a really aggressive offer. If somebody told me I have to do something, I think what Todd and Stella just said, I would back up and go, whoa, wait a minute. You're telling me you can get the same point across by simply asking a question. Are you aware of the current inventory levels and how quickly things are coming off in the market? In the event I identify a property that matches exactly what you're searching for, we'll need to react quickly based on current market conditions. Do you understand how critical that is? It's a whole different way of communicating as opposed to going, Noel, you better do this. Noel doesn't have to better do anything. I need to articulate a message that resonates with Noel so he wants to take action.
Nice.
And what is the best telephone number to reach you at in the event I identify something that meets your parameters? So you meet somebody at an open house. You meet somebody in an open house. What do you do after that house? So let's say that Adama and I connected. What are the next steps that would happen after the open house? It certainly isn't open house to car, because there's a lot more questions I'm going to want to ask in my buyer's consultation so I could properly and thoroughly do my job. What would be the 3 things that I would typically do after somebody left an open house? I'll give you a hint. I'm certainly not going to send them a text and email. I'm going to differentiate myself in the marketplace, and I want to connect with that person. I want to show that person I'm going to take some type of action that's going to leave a positive impression. What do you think I'm going to do? Say it again.
Call them? You're going to call them?
First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write I'm going to write a handwritten thank you note, which we have gotten away from as a society. And man, I'm going to tell you, you really want to get on my good side? Write me a thank you note. Tell me you care about me. Show me some love. We all want the same thing. We want to know that we're appreciated. Take the time to write a handwritten thank you note is number 1. Number 2, place them into your database management system to initiate your drip campaign. They immediately go in. Once you've identified that they want to buy within 2 years and they're receptive to doing business with you, they go into your qualified database, which will initiate your drip campaign, which Adama will start your phone calls, your postcard campaign, and you setting them up in a property search. That's what we went over in the last class. And lastly, you're going to call to set up what we call a consultation, a buyer's consultation, which is basically this document on steroids. Really simple. The nice thing is you could start having a really good open house by marketing it properly, going around to 150 to 200 of the neighbors and inviting them to the open house. That will assist you in building out your database. And again, don't focus the numbers. Don't focus on numbers. Don't focus on quantity. I had a great open house. I had 90 people came through. Great. How many people did you feel like you fostered and cemented a relationship with? I want you to focus your time identifying 4 or 5 people at your open house that you've connected with. So you leave that open house feeling your time is well spent and you've just identified 4 or 5 new clients.
Question, Eric. When you do the open house, do you, if you're doing it by yourself and you've got those people coming in, typically, I don't know if I'm talking to one person, how long a time, spent, because the other people are gonna leave.
All right, so I'm
Right,
going to
or
give you an
look-
analogy of what probably won't give you an analogy when I respond to that. There may be some times that somebody gets away that, you know, you just can't reach out to everybody. My goal is to connect with 4 or 5 people. You know, it's not a numbers game. I don't have to get everybody, Adama. I need to identify those 4 or 5 people. And if by chance I was so busy engaged with somebody else and I perhaps lose somebody from time to time, I'm okay with that. I'm not going to sell every home. You know,
I've got your
it's just
analogy
not
for
gonna-
you, Eric.
What's my analogy?
Speed dating.
I was actually going in a similar direction. I knew that you were going to say that. It is kind of like speed dating.
I mean, you
Yes.
gotta stick
Todd,
with-
it's really weird that you said that. It's exactly kind of what I was thinking. It's kind of like dating. You
It
ever walk
really
into a
is.
room and saw a lot of gorgeous people and
Yep.
thought, wow, you know, I'm overwhelmed.
Yep.
You're not gonna get a date with everybody.
Yep.
It's really funny that you said that.
So
I
you
mean,
guys,
pretty
so you
much
guys
what it
have
is,
heard,
like-
right?
I could, you know, I could sit in an open house for 2 hours and get nobody. And then I'll be like, you know what, forget this. I'm going to kick my signs and go. And then 5 people show up at the same time. And
Yep.
so it's just, you know, you can't control when people show up. So you've just got to figure out who the best potential person is and latch on and get that info, because you are going to lose some people when it happens. So
I agree.
unfortunately, you can't corral them all. You can't just be like, oh wait, you guys wait.
I completely agree. Any questions or comments in the open house? I'm going to take you right now or shortly to my favorite document, which is your pre-listing packet. Many of you have seen this before. Vicki, you've seen my pre-listing packet before. I'm known for this in the industry, and I'm excited to share this with you. Adama, what were you going to say?
When you at the open house and you have your tablet where they can sign in, do you have like an assistant or somebody there to make sure everybody signs in?
You know, I know that a lot of agents, and you've got some great agents here on the call today. You have several agents that do north of 40, 50 sales a year. I've never done open houses with other people. I mean, some people like their lender there. I want to be the person that connects with that buyer. I want to be the first person that feels like that I have created and maintained that relationship. And I feel like in the handoff, the lender, I just feel it's not clean. You know, I'm looking to be the person that identifies that relationship and then drives it deep. Vicki, Will, Todd, I mean, any feedback, Rosa, in terms of open houses? I'm always looking at page 1, page 2.
Yeah, I do open houses by myself too. And if they sign, they sign. I mean, I'm not really a forceful, you have to sign, put it in their face, you know, I mean, I'll ask them to sign, but if they just want to look around, I'm just pretty relaxed with it.
Awesome. Anybody else? Any other feedback?
Yeah, I do like to do open house with at least one other person. It maybe just be another realtor, just for safety reasons.
Okay. And I can understand that, Jimmy. I think that's fair. I think that's fair. Uh-huh.
I think a lot of it really is just, honestly, my experience has been that it really all depends on how you approach it, Eric, and what your attitude is. You know, if you talk to most realtors about open houses, you know, you're going to get, I'm sure right when you started, there's probably people that rolled their eyes going, oh, open houses. You know, it's 90% of the realtor population thinks they're a waste of time. And you know what, if you're going to just sell the current listing, then yeah, I'd say it is a waste of time.
I agree
But
completely.
that's not what your attitude needs to be. Your attitude needs to be that you're there to find other people that honestly, they want to buy and live in that neighborhood, or they want to know what their home is worth. I mean, those are the 2 reasons that people come through open houses, is because they're thinking those things. And so knowing that, keeping that in mind when you host the open house, if you don't get their contact information when they leave, you're watching a commission check walk out the door. I mean, that's really the attitude you need to have, and being selective with it too. I mean, if it's a forced conversation, why are you spending your time trying to talk to somebody that doesn't want to talk to you? Speed dating, right? It's just back to just find those that want to work with you. Have fun.
That's great. It's great input, Todd. Great.
Thank you.
Guys, should I take a 2-minute break, or should I get right into the pre-listing packet? Your call.
I need a 2-minute break.
Listing packet. Okay.
All right, two-minute break, guys. And then I'm gonna go through listing packet. There's a lot pre-listing packet. This is a really good marketing piece that you guys will really want to implement into your business. Let's take a quick 2-minute break. We got some water.
Let's do it. You're muted still, Eric.
All right. Whew. All right, guys, we're going to talk about your pre-listing packet. Does anybody know what a pre-listing packet is or the intent of a pre-listing packet?
Help set the authority before you get there.
Yes.
It does. Lisa, I see you. Lisa, what were you going to say?
Yeah, when I make my appointment, I send it to them.
So prior to going on the appointment.
Yes.
So Todd and Lisa just said something really important. So they're sending that pre-listing packets out to their sellers prior to ever going out on an appointment. Why are they doing that? I want you to think about that. Todd and Lisa know the answer to that. Why do the rest of you think that? Why are you sending your pre-listing packet out to your sellers prior to your listing presentation?
It shows professionalism, and it gives, I mean, you know, whether they look at it or not, them some feeling of, well, this is, you know, I must be pretty important, and this guy must be pretty, or woman must be pretty professional.
Mm-hmm.
Do people really look at this stuff? I guess it depends on what you're saying, right?
Yep. So Sherry just wrote something. Adama, a little more. I'm going to give you a little bit more meat on the bone. How do I pull up the chat? So Sherry wrote, yes, it establishes you as a professional, which it absolutely does, and sets the stage for the personal meeting with the seller. You know, absolutely. But it also does more than that. I want you to think of your time being spent with that seller is absolutely invaluable. And your time with that seller needs to be spent building a rapport, understanding their motivation, doing a needs analysis, setting expectation, and getting a commitment. It is not going through what I call the minutia, the details. I want the person who you're going to meet with, the seller, to go through the details so they have a keen understanding of how you will perform as their realtor prior to ever meeting you. So your time can be spent nurturing that relationship and determining if you're the right person once you're in front of them. Does that make sense to everybody?
Absolutely.
So your pre-listing packet is your main marketing tool. When I go out and hit expired listings, and I had mentioned a Federal Express envelope, my pre-listing packet is going into that Federal Express envelope as well as an expired letter. So your pre-listing packet is your main marketing tool, which gives you an opportunity to brand yourself to people in the most positive light possible prior to ever meeting with them. So it sets the stage in terms of who you are, and it tees you up in terms of how you want to portray yourself before you ever really spend any quality time with them. Hey folks, people on page number 2, there's a lot of you on this page. Feel free to jump in and ask as many questions as you have, please. I know some of you don't have your video on, but please feel free to jump in and pose any questions that you may have. So your pre-listing packet, you want to create what I call a wow factor. There should be an aha moment where people distinguish you as a professional. Your pre-listing packet should be clear and concise. How many of you like when you put in a hard day's work and feel like when you get home, there's a whole nother assignment of work that needs to be done? That's just a crappy feeling, right? So what you want to do is your pre-listing packet should be very pictorial in nature. I want the information to be really digestible. I don't want it to be overwhelming where somebody comes home from work and prior to meeting you, they feel like it's a massive chore, that's a massive undertaking where they have to go through just an enormous amount of information. So you're going to see my pre-listing packet is pictorial, and I'm going to try to make the information as easily digestible as possible. In my pre-listing packet, in almost every slide, I'm going to use an assumptive close. I'm just going to use an alternative close. I'm going to use a similar situation close. There, I'm going to leave them with the feeling that they have hired me to be their real estate professional prior to ever meeting me. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
So again, the goal is not to give them a novel where they feel overwhelmed. The goal is to give something that's pictorial, that is very easy to ascertain, and for them to digest the information and make an easy buying decision. Let's take a look at the pre-listing packet together.
I think some of that also is great because it helps you with overcoming objections before you even get there.
It does, Todd. It absolutely, what Todd just said is Absolutely accurate. Okay, when I wasn't quite as gray. Okay. So the goal of the, again, of the pre-listing packet provides the seller an opportunity to get to know you better and an update of what you'll be discussing on your scheduled appointment. The intent of the pre-listing packet is to increase the seller's positive perception of you. You want to create the right image in the mind of the seller about having you as their real estate professional, as having you as their agent. Okay? This is done in PowerPoint. You are going to receive this evening in the form of an email. Chris Pasquale is going to get this out to you. This is editable. My suggestion to you is the following. If you are not good with PowerPoint, have somebody do this for you. I could recommend somebody that could do this for a couple of $100s. For me, it would have taken me a month to put this together. Now, I told them what the look and the feel that I wanted. It's my verbiage, but the look and feel, it's all done in PowerPoint. I'm going to send this out to you, and you're able to edit this or modify this in any way that you would like, but I'm going to give you a standard format in terms of how you want to approach people.
Hey, Eric, I just typed into the chat bar a website called Fiverr.com. It's got 2 R's on the end of it.
Yeah.
And basically that's someplace, it originally started where you could hire anybody to do anything for $5. And so you can go right there and get a virtual assistant where, I mean, most of my stuff that gets recreated for Excel spreadsheets, Microsoft, I mean, you've got techie guys that can run circles around us. But if you go in there and you can actually upload your project right there to that, and you'll get a handful of people or more that will make bids for you to compete to do the project for you. And you can see samples of their work beforehand.
Excellent. So Todd, you said you put that in the chat?
Yeah. Yeah, I just
so folks, look in the chat. Also, I'll make available to you. I use a VA as well. And again, I think I mentioned this in the last class. It doesn't make sense for you guys to do $10 an hour work if you're making an income in real estate. So I use a VA as well to help me out in certain projects. And I'm more than happy to make that person available. And you could hire them out to $10 an hour to do any of your admin work. Okay, slide number 1. Let's take a look at this. I'm going to move the toolbar here. Okay, slide number 1. I went the opposite direction here. Is I want you to take a picture. So I want you to have a picture of the person's house that you are going to meet. So the seller's property, and you can get this from Google Maps, you can get this from the MLS, but I want you to have a picture of the house. And prior to meeting them, I want you to have a for sale sign with the word sold across it and your picture in front of the house. This is an aha slide that nobody is doing in the industry. What it's conveying to a seller, it's the first slide they see. It's saying this person is on top of things. They think outside the box. They took the initiative. It sets the stage in terms of who you are and how you carry yourself. It's also an assumptive close. They've already hired you and you've gotten them the results that they want, need, and desire. So I don't care if it is an expired listing. I don't care if it's a scheduled listing appointment. I want you to take that person's property and you are going to Photoshop your picture and a for sale sign with the word sold across it. Let's talk about this. Do you understand how important and impactful something like this is?
It is huge, but what do you do for apartments like in Midtown East, you know, in New York? You
take a picture of the outside of the apartment, only, Stella. I mean, I want something on there that shows that you took action. I want something on there that shows that you went the extra mile. Wouldn't you want that from your realtor? If you weren't in real estate, you want to, thanks, Mary Rose. What you want to do is you want to personalize that. You want to create and distinguish yourself in the market. Come on, guys, let's keep it real between us. Most realtors sit back and wait for the sun to shine. This is about being proactive. I am. It's going to come right back up, Joanna. This shows that you're proactive, proactive. This shows that you are proactive, that you think outside the box, and that you've taken the initiative, Stella, to distinguish yourself from every other wannabe professional in the industry. This is an aha slide, which absolutely is going to distinguish you. So that is the slide. So regardless of what property you're going out to, you're going to take a picture of the property prior to going out there, and you're going to Photoshop a for sale sign with the word sold across it and you in front of that. Your message is, you've already hired me. I've gotten you the results that you want, need, and desire, and I've distinguished myself from every other real estate in the marketplace by doing something different. Nobody else is doing this. Slide number 2 is just a picture of yourself with your contact information. I'm going to tell you, I am probably guilty of losing business cards more than anybody that I've ever met. You know, I travel a lot. I immediately take out my wallet before I speak. Make it easy for people to get in touch with you. I want one page that has your picture on it with you smiling, convey something that's positive with your contact information so someone knows exactly how to reach out. Third slide is about you. This is what you're going to convey to people, who you are, right? Licensed realtor for 10 years. I've probably been a licensed realtor for 30 years. I am definitely not a certified manager, property manager with extensive staging experience. I am a proud father. I wish I was bilingual in Spanish. I'm no longer an avid tennis player. I am a diehard UCLA football and basketball fan. But the one thing that I want on this slide, and this is going to be in your notes, is I want a bullet point that says that you're passionate about being a real estate professional and working for my clients. That I want on every slide. It's a strong, powerful message that you're conveying. So I want you to give some thought. Who are you? Let people know how long you've been in real estate. And on this, you should have different accreditations, awards that you've won, designations in the industry. So you want to, for this page and the next page, you want to convey to people who you are and the successes that you've had thus far in real estate.
So Eric, with regard to presentation, are you binding these things or are you just putting them with a alligator clip? I mean, how are you making them look from the presentation?
I put it in a plastic. I use the alligator clip basically.
Okay.
I use a cellophane, you know, the white clear thing. I put that in there, and just one of the sliding clips that you fit into it. But again, this is about you, what you want to convey, and make it somewhat personal. Let people know, you know, father of 5 children, mother of 3 kids, you know, member of the community for the last 20 years. You want to personalize us, but have your accreditations, your designations, and any awards that you've won.
Can I ask you something for the market, like awareness? Do you think being mother of 3 of 1 kid has anything more to offer when you are out there to sell their home?
I think that it's not about how many children you have, Stella. I think it's about your ability to connect with them.
I see.
I very rarely talk about myself on a listing presentation. It's my opportunity to listen. So I'll ask them lots of questions about them and their family. And then I'll ask them simply, what would you like to know about me?
Because you said to put it in the front there, the 3 children.
They can read it about you, but when you're with them, I'm not getting into a whole lot of minutia about who I am. Again, my question to them is, what would you like to know about me? So my time is well spent. It's not about what I think, it's about, they'll tell me what they want to know based on the strength of the question that I ask.
But you put it about Eric.
I am. I mean, what defines me is Jackson. What defines me is
You're
that I'm a proud.
Okay, thank you.
What defines me is that I'm a proud father. The love that I have for my son.
Yeah, because many times I had this conflict. Should I put that or not? Thank you.
Why not, Stella? It's who you are.
Yeah, but sometimes, you know, it's personal.
I think I wouldn't entrust somebody. I'm open to having feedback with you guys on this. I'm not sure that I would entrust somebody with my phone if I didn't feel like they were likable and that there was something about them that I found compelling as a human being.
Thank you. Very, very clear for me now. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree with that, Eric. I mean, sales 101 is if people don't like you and, and if they don't trust you, then they won't hire you. And by giving them a little bit of information, you don't have to bury them with information about you. Well, of course, we always want to talk about ourselves, but I think really we just need to give them enough info to know that you're a human being and not a machine. Yep. And just remember that, like, what was it, Dale Carnegie said that, right? A good conversationalist is when you only talk 20% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
If you're able to get them to talk about themselves, they're going to like you and trust you. that's really what it is just getting them to, I like you every time you let me talk, Eric. So.
I think what Todd said is really true. I've always viewed sales as that, I don't want to guess what people are thinking. And the way for me not to guess is to ask appropriate questions. And I don't want to guess if someone's comfortable with me. I want to ask questions. And if somebody is sharing and engaged with me, I know they're comfortable. That's what illustrates. So good point, Todd. Next slide is my personal commitment to you. And I know anybody could say this, but I want it in writing. And you'll see, Todd had mentioned this earlier. I'm already thinking about what objections I may hear in a listing presentation, and I'm addressing this in my pre-listing packet. So I always put the highest standards and ethics. I will always put your needs first. I provide excellent customer service at all times. I'm skillful and experienced in negotiations. I'll provide you an accurate evaluation of your property. I have world-class marketing to ensure maximum exposure for your property. But the last bullet point here is key. What is the biggest objection that we hear on a listing presentation? Not the biggest, the most common and the most difficult to overcome.
What's your commission?
That's easy.
Commission.
Other than my commission, is there any other reason that you?
Yeah, am I going to be stuck with you forever?
Say it. Who was that? Phil?
Jim. Yeah, am I going to be stuck with you forever?
Because I want to think about it. I need to interview other agents. Having the flexibility to terminate a listing contract if you're not 100% satisfied, does that not give you more comfort and flexibility in moving forward this evening? Does that make sense, Jim?
Absolutely.
Eddie, can you repeat that, please? You break up a little bit.
Okay, so if somebody, the most common objection, and quite frankly, the most difficult one to overcome, is I want to think about it. I want to interview other agents. So what I'm using this slide for is I'm giving them a litany of things which they're going to secure from me, but they're also going to get an opportunity to terminate the listing contract if they're not 100% satisfied. So when someone says, Eric, we want to think about it, I can quickly respond with, does having the flexibility or the ability to terminate our listing agreement if you're not 100% satisfied, does that not give you a greater level of comfort in moving forward this evening?
Can I ask you something, Gary?
Yes.
So when we do the exclusive listing agreement, and usually we do it for 6 months, in order to have this, valid, we have to offer the termination agreement too, to be able the seller to use it at his, to have it at his disposal, because it happens sometimes. So you put that you bring it up, or you just don't talk about it?
No, what I do talk about it. I mean, right here in my presentation, I'm telling people that if they're not 100% satisfied with the level of service that I'm providing, they may simply terminate the agreement.
Yes, but in our listing agreement, we have 6 months.
Correct. So if I'm not performing and they're unhappy, they may simply go in a different direction. Again, still, I'm not looking to lock somebody into a relationship and tarnish my brand if they're not 100% happy. Yeah, so if I've spent marketing dollars and I haven't done my job effectively, there is a chance that I could, go ahead.
I'm with you there. The only thing is, in our broker's portfolio, we have this for breaking our exclusive. In order to be more secure with our seller, do we bring that with our listing package, or we say, okay, in case we can provide you that in the future? Because there is a paper that says, if you're not satisfied. you can.
I mean, I don't know what the legalities of the contracts are in the state of New York. I've never sold real estate in New York, but I can share with you that I've never put this in writing, but it's something that's been very clear that if somebody is not happy working with me or they don't feel like I'm performing at a high level, if they're not 100% satisfied, they may simply walk away from the relationship. But I don't know the legality, Stella. I don't mean to be evasive.
Sorry that to interrupt. I have a buyer and they're very eager from the lawyer. That's why I answered the phone. Sorry.
That's okay.
We're closing that now. That's why, and we are in negotiations. Sorry.
Excellent. No worries at all. No worries at all. Okay,
But
your
did
next
you say
slide.
that I'm sorry. Eric, did you say you put it in writing in your listing presentation, or you state it?
It's back here. It's right here in my pre-listing packet.
Okay, I can see
when
it.
they
That's okay.
bring this up to me, I'll say, were you aware? I'm sure you saw in my pre-listing packet that you have the ability to terminate our listing contract if you're not 100% satisfied. Just having that flexibility provides you with a greater level of comfort of moving forward this evening. Next slide is all of your professional affiliations, National Association of Realtors, your local. The next two slides, I want you to pepper them with any awards that you've won. Again, affiliations, accreditations. Okay. This is what I call your unique value-added proposition. What do you do differently in the marketplace? This is what I call your elevator speech. You all should be able in 30 seconds to be able to distinguish the value that you bring to a buyer or seller and why it's imperative for them to work with you. So I want you to discuss the high level of services rendered by you and your brokerage partner. What's your business philosophy? How do you feel about being a realtor and the responsibilities associated with being selected to assist someone to dispose of their most important asset? Why is it beneficial to the seller to select you as the professional representing them in the sale of their home? So what I want you to do tonight or tomorrow is put your feet up on the couch, have a cup of coffee, have a glass of wine, and really be introspective. You need to be able to clearly and concisely within 30 seconds, again, an elevator speech, be able to articulate your value-added proposition and why it's beneficial for someone, for a buyer or seller, to work with you and have you represent them in a real estate transaction. And that should be as clear as the day is long. And it should be compelling. One of the things that I want, though, on this slide, though, again, I would put in where it says example, part of your unique value-added proposition should be the following: the size of our. And I want you to use the word our because all of you have a team. Whether or not you have an assistant working for you, you have escrow and title companies, you have lenders. The size of our team is measured by the size of our success is measured by the satisfaction of our clients. I want that verbiage as part of your unique value-added proposition. I never once walked into a home and said, my name's Eric Orland. I sold 128 homes last year, and you want to hire me because I get the job done. That's irrelevant. How much money I have in my bank account, that I sold a lot of homes, what defines me, what identifies me as being a successful professional is how my clients perceive me. The level of my success is measured by the satisfaction of my clients. And it's really important that should be part of your unique value-added proposition. Do you guys have any questions about this? And if you get stuck on this, pick up the phone and call me. I'll walk you through this. Think about who are you as a person? What's important to you? Why do you feel, what's significant about being a realtor? To me, and I try to lend a helping hand here, the fact that I'm being selected to assist somebody dispose of the most important asset or make their biggest purchase is more important than I could potentially articulate.
I've used something in my investors, where I've been focusing more, and now I'm going to be able to expand with, through your training. I donate 100% of my real estate profits from my real estate sales to my own nonprofit. I provide housing for veterans that have post-traumatic stress.
Do you know how powerful that is, Adama?
And I'm able to do that because I live on my own real estate investments. And I've been an investor for a long time. So I can show you how to live like I live, and, you know, been living since I was 50. You know?
Let me just tell you, as a retired Navy combat vet, that is probably one of the most powerful things I've ever heard.
It is. It's really powerful, Adama, really powerful. So I can help you craft that message really well. So one of the reasons I ventured into real estate is to be able to work closely with people as they make their biggest purchase or dispose of the most important asset, and being committed to taking the monies that I'm fortunate enough to make and to provide them back to my fellow man or woman for the following purpose. I mean, it's really, really powerful, like Jim just articulated. So all of you need to understand, what is your value-added proposition? What does it mean to you to be a realtor? And this is something, again, you should be able to articulate this clearly and concisely in under 30 seconds. This is just a standard slide, marketing, how homes typically get sold. The next slide is, I want you to give some thought, and I call this the 4 quadrants of your real estate brokerage. What do they offer the seller? Why is it beneficial for the seller for you to be affiliated with that brokerage firm? So if it's a big, big company, one of the big national companies, right? You have worldwide connections, you have multiple locations, you have a huge referral network. If it's small and boutique, you know, you're accustomed to really, you know, you're a neighborhood real estate company that's focused on providing the highest, most intimate level of service. But I want you to think of the 4 quadrants that distinguish your real estate brokerage and separates them apart. If you get stuck on this, who would be an appropriate person to speak with? It's obviously your broker.
My broker, yeah.
And if your broker does not know their value-added proposition, we've got a significant problem. But they should be able to convey to you, what are the 4 things that distinguishes your brokerage in the marketplace? And why was it important for you to affiliate with them? This is a standard slide, marketing strategy to successfully sell your home. Today, when you list a home, it gets sent out everywhere. That's a standard slide. Okay, the next 9 slides, I'm not going to take you through, but I'm going to show you the importance of this. The next 9 slides is what I call your plan of action to successfully sell their home. And this is the devil in the details. The goal is to do the following, is for the seller to go through this information and get a very clear understanding all of the time and the effort it takes to successfully market, negotiate, and sell the home. I want this to be so detailed, it's almost like if you were describing somebody how you get up in the morning. When I get up in the morning, I put on my left pant leg first, and then my right pant leg. I want it to be descriptive. So there is so much content here that the seller would never think about doing it on their own. And they clearly understand why each and every one of you are worth 6 to 7%, because most people have no idea everything that's entailed to successfully market, negotiate, and sell. I also don't want you going through this on your listing presentation. I want your time in your presentation being well spent. I want the person prior to the presentation having gone through this materials, and I'll talk about that at the end. How do you ensure that? So this is this is the devil in the details. And the next 9 slides, I'm just going to read the top heading: marketing strategy to successfully sell your home. Marketing strategy once the property is under the listing agreement. Marketing strategy, marketing of the listing. Marketing strategy, marketing of the listing. Marketing strategy, property in the multiple listing service databases. Marketing strategy, the offer and the contract. Marketing strategy, the offer and the contract. marketing strategy, the home inspection process, marketing strategy, tracking the loan process and the appraisal, marketing strategy, closing preparation and duties. Do you understand what I've done there? I basically drown them in information, letting them know what they don't know. Now, as you go through that marketing plan, and if you do things that are not on there, you would add them to that. Or if you do things that are not in there, you would simply delete them from that PowerPoint. But that is your time to convey all of the services that you provide as a real estate professional, so the seller could get their arms around that prior to meeting you. It's absolutely essential. Essential. Is there any questions or comments about that? You know, when I first started my real estate career almost 30 years ago, you know, one of the people that had an impact in my career was clearly Mike Ferry. And we used to go through the plan of action. I'd sit down at a kitchen table and I'd say, are you familiar with the multiple listing service? Well, the first thing I'm going to do is put your home in the MLS, and are you aware of why I would do that? What's a silly conversation to have? Everybody today starts their home buying purchase or their home selling process on the internet. So what you want to do is you want to lay out your plan of action so people can get comfortable with who you are and the high level of services you provide. And when you're on your listing presentation, you can ask them, are you comfortable with the plan that I put forth in an effort to get you the results that you're seeking? It's a different type of conversation. I'm going to take you through that in the next class. What determines the price of the property is standard slide. Next slide is you're going to put in place your comparative market analysis. You are not going to tell anybody what price to list their home at. I'm going to talk to you about how to properly price a home when I do a listing presentation. And I use what's called a slightly less than, slightly more than marketing concept. But I want you to provide the seller with information. I want you to do a CMA that shows what homes are in the market, what's under contract, and what is closed. Again, you're not going to tell them your recommendation of what the home should list at. You're going to leave that for you, but all you're going to do is provide them information for them to become familiar. Because again, one of the major questions or objections you're going to hear is, I want to think about this. You want to arm them with as much information as possible so there's less for them to think about. Next slide is going to be testimonials. I want you to have a minimum of 3 testimonials of past clients stating how well you performed on their behalf. If you are new in the industry, I want people to talk about your dedication, your attention to detail, your integrity, anything that identifies you. But I want testimonials. I could sit here all day long and say, hey, I think this is a great coaching class. It's irrelevant what I think. What's important is what all of you think. So I want a full page of testimonials. Okay. This is my favorite slide, or one of my favorite slides in the presentation, and this is very important, so please listen. So what I want you to do in this slide is I want this to be all of your third-party affiliations, your third company affiliations. And you're going to simply say that you've pre-screened and analyzed affiliation with the most valuable third-party vendors to ensure that my clients have the most smooth and fundamentally sound transactions. So what you're going to do is you're going to put in your lender, your title and escrow company, your inspection company, your home warranty company. And as you go through the presentation, you're going to use this slide as a trial close. I know some of you are going to have a lot of commentary after I go through this, but watch how I position this. Okay, Jim, I'm going to use you an example, Jim Strauss. So Jim, one of the key features that I do as a real estate professional, if I've properly screened and interviewed all of my third-party vendors to ensure that my clients, such as yourself, have the most sound and fundamentally sound transaction. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. One of my key relationships is with Will Estrada at ABC Mortgage Company.
Mm-hmm.
I've been working with Will for years. And Jim, with your permission, I'd like to ask you the following. I'd like to know that when an offer comes in, that lender is providing qualified information, and we know that you and I know that the borrower has the ability to perform, so your move will never be impeded, so you never experience any uncomfortability. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Jim, with your permission, may I simply put in the MLS that all buyers need to be pre-approved by Will Estrada at XYZ Mortgage Company to ensure that we know that buyer is able to perform?
Oh, absolutely.
What has Jim just done?
Committed.
Hired you.
Jim has hired me. This is called a
He's hired
trial
you.
close.
Yep.
This is called a trial close. So I know some people don't like doing this. I have done this for years. I am not telling
Love it.
anybody that they have to work with my lender. What I am doing is I'm conveying to the seller that I'm putting their needs first, that I'm protecting them. I'm forward in my thinking, making sure that when you can come in, bud. Hold on 1 second, guys. Hey, buddy. It's all right. So what you want to convey is the following. You want to convey through your actions, not your words, that you're forward in your thinking, and that you are positioning that seller in a manner that you're putting their needs first, that you're absolutely protecting them. And again, one of my key relationships is with my lender, Will Estrada at XYZ Mortgage Company. With your permission, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, may I simply request that all buyers get pre-approved by Will. Do you know the reason I would like them to do that? I want to make sure that when we receive an offer on the property, that you and I have the comfort of knowing that buyer has the ability to perform, so your move has never been impeded. Watch. Hey, Jim, has any other agent discussed this with you?
No.
Ah, interesting. Has any other agent? What am I conveying without saying it?
Different. I'm above the rest.
I am above the fray. I'm above the rest. I am taking action to ensure that you are protected first and foremost. So I know some of you are going to say it's going to piss off other agents. You are not telling an agent that their buyer has to work with that lender. You're simply saying that you want to know that buyer has the ability to perform, and for your lender to make sure that they are approved for their loan. That's all. Questions, comments? I know things are going to come up for you guys on this.
I mean, this is awesome. This is because I only work with buyers that are pre-approved anyway.
Yes.
But now, by saying that, would the a realtor send the pre-approval to my lender to make sure it's real, or what?
Your lender would convey to you as the listing agent that buyer has the ability to perform, so your seller is protected and knows that they're capable of receiving proper financing.
Okay, because the buyer's agent sent the approval not to me, but he sent it to me and my lender to check it out to make sure it's real. Is that what we're saying?
No, what I'm saying is that your lender is going to take control of the buyer, and your lender is going to not take control. That was a little strong. Your lender is going to pre-approve the buyer, even if they're working, because you don't know, Adama, what happens if it's an out-of-area lender? What happens if a lender who is, just like in real estate, we have some really good realtors, and unfortunately, we have some weaker realtors. You're going to want to ensure that you're affiliated with a great mortgage professional, so when they tell you, hey, Adama, that buyer has the ability to perform, it's your name that the seller, it's going to come back to you. If this deal blows up and that buyer doesn't perform and you don't close on time, whose name gets tarnished?
Mine.
You as the listing agent. So what you want to do is you want to have your lender sign off and say, hey, this buyer is good to go. That will provide you and the seller a high level of comfort, knowing that their move won't be impeded and that your reputation doesn't get tarnished.
Definitely.
Okay.
There's
Even if they have they're working with the lender that say they've got a buyer's agent, and they've got a buyer's agent, and that buyer's agent has gotten them pre-approved already. Because I don't accept the offer unless
they have to. I'm going to stop you for the sake of time. They have to. In how I ran my business is I want them to go to my lender so I can look at my seller and say with a high level of conviction and comfortability that that buyer has the right to perform. That's all.
Don't you interfere with the buyers,
Yes, I'm definitely. I knew this was going to bring up a lot of discussion. If you don't feel comfortable implementing this, don't do it. At the end of the day, it was my way. At the end of the day, it was my way of illustrating to the seller that I was thinking of their needs first, and I was protecting them. I was doing something different than most realtors do as a way of distinguishing myself on the marketplace.
Yeah, I love it because I had one time something many years ago, probably useful information, that everything was approved from Bank of America here in New York City. And then it was that they put personal and business together, the income. And of course, they couldn't make it because it was business and it was for residential. So I love it, but sometimes they come pre-approved, like Adama said, with 3 different pre-approval banks.
Again, what I'm looking to do is I'm looking to get that letter and have my lender sign off and saying, hey, they are good to go. Because if I don't know that other lender, Stella, then I'm putting myself in a really vicarious position of telling my seller that they should accept an offer, and I know nothing about that lender. I feel that I'm doing myself and my client a disservice.
Okay,
I know that there are some agents that have blown me up in a class and saying, I would never do that. Okay, I understand.
No, I love to do it. The thing is, if the buyer get offended, just the same, we have to have authority and we have to say, I don't like to waste my time, because for that listing, I took it off the market, and after 2 months, it goes back to the market again.
Gotcha.
Look, you know what? Builders do this every day. They require their lender to pre-qualify.
I didn't even think about that. That's awesome. Say that again, Patty. Really important.
Builders require this. They only allow a buyer to go into contract if they're pre-approved with their lender. And buyers know this. So why wouldn't we do this? And to be honest with you, when we worked with OSLs, 90% of the time they didn't close on time. It was a big ordeal. So for me, I think this is awesome.
Thank you for saying that. I mean, it has certainly brought up a lot of emotion over, the 20 years I've been putting on this class. And some realtors really take exception to it. But you remember, at the end of the day, when somebody entrusts you to sell their home, they are entrusting you to sell their most important asset. And when that deal doesn't close on time, they got to go to a hotel, or their stuff has to go into storage, and there is a big hiccup in the transaction. Unfortunately, that reflects on you guys. That's not fair. So at the end of the day, I'm going to protect myself and my reputation. I have to know that that buyer can perform. And if the other agent isn't sensitive to that, oh well. I'm not looking to pick a fight. I'm looking to protect.
Sure.
Because it's my brand in the marketplace.
Do you accept?
Eric?
Sorry.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, do you?
Mortgage contingency.
I'm sorry?
Do you accept mortgage contingency for the closing?
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with the contingent. Well, depending on what other offers I may have on the property. I mean, that's, it's obviously a case-by-case scenario. I don't know how the property is positioned. That would typically depend on, that's property specific. But yeah, I would consider contingencies depending. Yeah.
So Eric, I think this is a really smart idea. Let me just ask a question because I don't know. When you're asking the buyer client to be pre-approved through your lender, is your lender going to be hitting their credit again? I mean, what's the fallout from that? I mean, is there any detriment to the buyer's credit by having to go through 2 credit processes?
Anybody, any mortgage people on the line right now? Any mortgage people on the call that would like to?
Well, you could do a soft pull, and a soft pull doesn't affect the buyer's credit. And you can see the information and go from it.
Yeah, but if they're shopping, it's not going to hit if it's all being done in a certain amount of time, from what I understand.
I think it's within a 30 or 60 day period.
30 days.
That's 30 days.
If it doesn't affect it.
It doesn't really affect too much.
Yeah. So this is part of what I was.
It's a great way to protect yourself, but it's also, more importantly, if I was, let's take a step back and let's make that we were a seller. And an agent said to us, hey, I want to make sure you're properly protected so your move is never impeded, because that's an awful experience. And shouldn't you and I have a high level of comfort knowing that you'll be protected? What do you think they're going to say to you? No? They're going to say to you, well, yeah, and thank you. Thank you for thinking like that. Yep. So it's something that I've been doing for years. And it's also, it is a trial close. When Will Estrada, I say to Will, with your permission, may I simply put in the MLS that all buyers need to be. Sorry, I don't know who that is. But it's also a trial close. If I were to say to Joanna, for example, you know, Joanna, with your permission, may I put in the MLS that all buyers need to be pre-approved by Will Estrada at XYZ Mortgage Company to ensure that we know they have the ability to perform, so your move is never impeded. Once Joanna says, yes, Eric, you may do that, she's just signed the contract. She has verbally signed a contract with you. It is called a trial close. So not only does it protect you, but it also secures you, that seller, as a client. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes, thank you.
Love it, love it.
One thing I want to call out real quick, Eric, I know you're short on time here, but does everybody recognize the difference between a pre-approval and pre-qualified? Because a lot of times lenders will just print out, you know, a pre-approval, which is basically more than them just spending 2 minutes on the phone talking to people and getting there, running a credit check. And they basically look at their credit score and say, okay, well, as long as you provide documentation that proves everything that you talked about on the phone, then we can get you approved. Where, to me, that's not worth the paper that it's printed on, because everybody always exaggerates how much money they make. What you need to know is you need to see their tax returns in order to be able to see that. So it needs to be pre-qualified, where no matter whatever lender they go through, whether they choose to use your lender or someone else's, they need to have it ran through the automated underwriting system before the seller accepts an offer, in my opinion.
Exactly.
You need to know that their financial history has been documented and reviewed.
Yep.
All right, sorry. I'll get off my soapbox.
No problem. No, Tom, thank you. I think it's great. And listen, I love having you participate. Listen, the more we collaborate as individuals, as professionals, yeah, it's better for everybody. No one has all the answers. I love your input. I love everyone's input on the call. My promise,
also, if they
my
haven't
guarantee.
reviewed the credit, just it's useless. I have a mortgage broker background.
Yep.
And unless they've gone all the way through, like they're getting ready to underwrite that or send it to the underwriter, they really don't know anything about that.
No.
I did have a question.
Yep.
The question was, how do you get that arranged effectively with your lender? Because obviously they're going to have to take some time. And what was your percentage of the time when they could beat the rate and the person actually ended up going with them?
You know, Joy, that's a really
good an opportunity for the lender. Well, how do I get my lender to do that? They have to spend some time.
You know, if your lender values your business, and they should, I mean, you're the one that's putting food on their table. You're the one that typically, as a realtor, is farming out the relationship. So I would think that your lender will jump through hoops, quite frankly, since you are the one that's handing off the client, not typically the lender, right? So I think that most lenders, certainly every lender that I've ever worked with, was willing to do this. And I don't know the percentage.
Wasn't sure what they would think.
If they are able to secure the relationship and they wind up going with that lender, that's even better for you, because now you have a higher level of comfort knowing that you've got a relationship and certain information is going to be conveyed to you. But that's between the lender and that buyer. If that lender does such a good job, my lender has done such a good job that they're able to secure the relationship, more power to them.
So would you find that oftentimes, basically they're going through their entire focus on getting them pre-approved. So then they'll issue that to the buyer, they're issuing it to us so that the seller can review that. And, you know, it's awesome actually, because it gives them another opportunity as a buyer to review another level of confidence on them, I guess you could say. So
it does, Joanna. And the other thing I want you to take in mind, I want you to keep in mind, all of you guys, is that, you know, could we agree that in real estate, 90% of the business is done by 10% of the people? Same thing holds true in mortgages. Shouldn't you have a high level of comfort knowing that that mortgage person is absolutely going to perform when you tell that seller to accept the offer? That's on you guys. I think that most mortgage people are very much like most realtors. There's a handful that are very good, and I want the very good involved with my business to let me know that my seller, who's entrusted me with their home, is properly protected. And
if they won't do it for you, find a new one.
Yep.
Yeah. I think I have one that will do that. I just wasn't.
Joanna, what market are you in?
Sacramento,
Joanna, what market?
California.
Listen, I know 1,000 in Sacramento. I know a ton. I mean, I used to live in Burlingame. I know a ton of
I'm
good
sorry,
realtors.
I'm having major audio issues, and I hung up my phone call, and now I'm only catching some words. So I think I'm gonna have to turn on my phone call again. But I can't talk when I'm on the phone, so that's unfortunate. Thank you so much.
You bet. So my promise and my guarantee, so I want this as part of your packet. I pledge to put forth 100% effort while utilizing all of my resources to deliver you the results you want, need, and deserve. I'm honored you have entrusted me to sell your home, and my goal is to exceed your expectations. That's a similar situation close, and it's an assumptive close. If anytime you're unhappy with the level of my service, you may simply cancel our listing agreement by notifying me directly or anyone on my team. There again is that team approach. This is, I said before, the third-party vendor was my favorite slide. This is actually one of my very favorite slides. What is this? Who knows what I'm trying to do here? I want you to think about this, guys. Put in your thinking caps. Questions before we begin. What am I looking to extract?
Potential objections that they have.
Say it again.
Objections that they have.
You are darn right. I'm not running from an objection. If someone has an objection, it's an obstacle that they're needing assistance in getting around. My goal isn't to run from them, it is to run to them so I can extend an olive branch and make them feel comfortable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have them write down any of their specific questions that they'd like to address or objections. So as I come through their home and I ask back for this document, this is the first page I'm going to turn to. And as I'm walking through the home and the seller appropriately is pointing out all of the features and benefits that they most enjoy, I now have ample time to resonate what concerns they have so I can come up with a response that is very clear, and I can be confident in how I handle it. So again, this is one of my very favorite slides. It conveys to me what obstacles or challenges the seller has and gives me ample time to think how I want to respond in the most appropriate way possible.
So Eric, I think I missed it. When, obviously you're giving this to them beforehand. When are you getting this slide back from them?
I'm gonna get into this. I forgot to mention that at the beginning of the presentation. I'm gonna actually get into that in a moment. Good question, Jeff.
You are human?
Very. Just ask my child outside. Way too human. Okay. And lastly, your last slide is, it would be my pleasure to market your property. Thank you for the opportunity to serve you and our wonderful community. And this is called, again, a similar situation close. There's a commonality that exists between us, and we are part of the same community. This is a similar situation close. So how does this work? This is a PowerPoint presentation. There are only 29 or 30 slides. There is very little writing. Most of this is pictorial in nature, so someone doesn't feel like they have a lot of work to do. How I want this handled is the following way. You take your pre-listing packet, you put it again in a Federal Express envelope, and either you or your assistant delivers it to the seller directly 72 hours prior to your listing presentation. This is hand delivered to a seller to ensure that they have it 72 hours prior to a listing presentation. You are going to call 24 hours prior to that meeting them, and you're going to ask them if they had the opportunity to review the materials. If they do not, what am I going to tell you to do?
Reschedule.
Reschedule?
You're darn right. You're going to reschedule. You're going to reschedule the appointment. It's absolutely imperative. You're going to reschedule the appointment. Why? You never want to let an inmate run an asylum. If you're giving some direction, think of yourself as an attorney, a doctor, a CPA. You don't negotiate with those professionals. They ask you to take action, you take action, and you have a healthy working relationship because they're the professional. If you ask somebody to go through the pre-listing packet and they don't do it, you are already starting the relationship off on the wrong foot.
Yes.
You're they're in control and you are not. So what I would do is I would simply push back on the appointment. You can't say, hey, Noel, you didn't read the materials. I'm not going to come out. I'm going to push back. You want to create a benefit for them to move back in the appointment. Noel, you're about to embark on listing your property with a real estate professional that's going to be responsible for selling your most important asset. Isn't it important for you to understand who I am as a person and the high level of services I'll be providing in order to get you the results that you want? Noel,
Yes.
doesn't it make sense not to shortcut this process so you know when we're working together, you hired the right professional who has the right plan in place to get you the results that you want? May I simply suggest moving back the appointment 2 to 3 days so you have ample time to get more familiar with myself and the plan that will be used to get you the results that you want.
Wow.
Is that clear to everybody? So 72 hours, Federal Express envelope, hand deliver, 24 hours, I want you to call to make sure they went through the materials so that your time when you're with them isn't spent going through a plan of action and all the minutia that entails. Your time is spent cultivating and nurturing a relationship with things that are important. So I know that you have the time to review my marketing plan. Is there anything that you would do to alter or change that plan? Are you confident that plan will yield you the results that you want? Those are questions that I'm going to get into in our next class. I don't want to know specific items. I want to know, do you believe in me? Do you believe that I can perform, number one? And number two, do you believe my plan of action will yield you the results you want, right? That's the focus of my listing presentation, not all of the minutia. Questions, comments, and concerns. I wrapped this up. We did good. We got 5 minutes to spare. Want to hear your thoughts about today's class. I want to hear you guys to engage with me. And any thoughts about this presentation? Would you use it? Would you not use it?
I'm definitely going to use it. And the one of the things that make it so powerful is if other agents are presenting, we're the ones that they're waiting for. We're the ones that the seller's going to tell that other agent, well, okay, I've made an appointment and I need to at least give this other agent the courtesy of, seeing. So the other agents will be getting, well, let me think about it. I got to talk to one more agent, not us. That's powerful.
Thank you.
I like it because we're establishing a relationship where they are paying attention to what we're saying. Because if they're not going to do what we say in the first place, they will never do what we ask them to do during the engagement. We will not be able to work with them.
You're 1,000% right. You're starting off the relationship the wrong way by them not taking action and going through this. And guys, I want you to think about, like, when you're in your listing presentation, when you're in a date, right? Remember, for those of you that are married, think about when you weren't married and you were on a date with somebody. Did you sit there and read a document as you were getting to know somebody? I don't want you going in with a presentation and taking them through a PowerPoint in front of them. I want you looking them in the eye and building a relationship with them based on trust and confidence. And don't talk a lot, man. If you're talking a lot, you're out of control. Ask. Ask. Remember, most important thing about being in sales, selling is about solving people's problems and meeting people's needs. I keep coming back to that. It's an art. And if you catch yourself speaking for more than 30 seconds, stop and ask a question. How many times do I do it here in this class with you where I just stop? Do you not recognize this whole time how many times I ask you a question? I'm sorry for the people on the second page that I don't see, but all of you have gotten called on all day today. So I keep you engaged. Because if I talked at you, Rosa, I don't know if you're really listening to me, do I?
Yeah, I'm listening.
You are, aren't you?
Yeah, everything's good. Question about the presentation. I deal in a very competitive market, condominiums. Okay, so one, I do use pre-qualification lenders. Definitely, I before I present an offer to a seller,
Mhm.
I make sure that we get a pre-approval, pre-qualification, in addition to tax returns, proof of income, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
Which helps because this way we know ahead of time whether or not that person's going to qualify for that sale. But on listing presentations, I really never have used one. I really have done it, off the cuff. So I want to use this one, but I'm afraid of mailing it in advance. Again, because of the heavy competition that we have here, where I primarily list. Is that,
So tighten your question up for me, Rosa. So precisely the question?
Is it okay if I take your listing presentation to the appointment and pre-mailing it?
No, I don't want you, because Rosa, I want you to spend your time engaged with them. And I'm going to give you your listing presentation in our next class, asking questions. You can't do that with a packet. I want them to review that, so that will alleviate you having to go through all of the crap that's entailed with getting their home marketed and properly sold. I want your time well spent. Again, think of being like on a date with somebody. I want your time spent looking them in the eye and nurturing a relationship and being able to read their body language, build rapport, understand motivation, do a needs analysis, set expectations, and get a commitment. That's where I want your time spent. And listen, if an agent needs to copy your materials, at the end of the day, it doesn't make a difference. You know what? Yes, I like the pre-listing packet. I think that it's an aha slide where you have the picture of the home, where you have the picture of the home, then your picture's on it and has for sale and sold. But at the end of the day, they're not buying your pre-listing packet. They're not buying your market materials. You know who they're buying? You. Your ability to make them feel comfortable and the feeling that they have that you have the ability to perform. And work the system. Most agents don't have systems in place, and they fly by the seat of their pants. Not that they're bad people. We're all mostly good people. We don't plan on failing. We fail to plan. So I'm going to say to you, work the system. If somebody takes your pre-listing packet, congratulations. You did something right in the marketplace. Most agents won't even take the time to put the pre-listing packet in place. Vicki Jackson, am I right? God knows how many realtors I've taught this class to. I bet you 70% of the realtors, after I give them the pre-listing packet, Rosa, don't even take the time to put them together.
I would venture to say it's closer to 90, Eric.
You're killing me, really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember early on, when I went to a buyer's presentation class for a realtor that had been in the industry about 15 years, and I was probably in my third year, and he gave everybody his material. And he just says, and somebody asked him, he says, why are you giving us this material? Aren't you afraid that we're going to steal it? And he goes, and honest to goodness, he said, honestly, he goes, I give this material to everybody. I teach hundreds of people every year. And he says, I would be surprised if 3% to 5% of you do something with it.
You're probably right. You just sent me into a suicidal state. My kid doesn't listen to me. The ex-wife doesn't listen to me. The dog doesn't listen to me. And now none of the people that I speak to all day listen to me. Great. Thanks, Todd. You made my day. Guys, anybody else?
It's okay as long as the sellers listen.
Exactly.
It's no poor reflection on you, Eric. It's just, some people are willing to get out of their comfort zone and do something.
I'm teasing. I'm just saying it facetiously.
No, I gotcha. It's just, it's something that, with us here, I mean, even, I should say with it, it's just human nature, unfortunately. It's that 90-10 rule, right? Yep. With those successful, those that want more or motivated enough to step forward and do something, they're going to put it in action. Those that don't, you're going to continue to get what you got, right?
Yep. Guys, my calendar is getting super full. If you haven't done a one-on-one with me, please reach out, get on the calendar. I do need to move 2 one-on-ones and give you a heads up on something. So I have most of you on a one-on-one, but there's a link for you to schedule a one-on-one meeting with me. It's a half hour that I'll go through your entire business plan and make recommendations to you. I need to change 2 of the one-on-ones. Stella, I'm going to reschedule. Is Paul Wilson on the phone call? Paul, are you on?
I am.
Hey, bud, can I bump you? Can I bump you to tomorrow or Wednesday?
Yes.
do me a favor. My number is 415-595-9000. 415-595-9000. Just text me when I come up with an alternative time. And then I wanted to bring to everyone's attention, so the class is going to be Wednesday, really important class. I'm going to do your listing presentation, your buyer's consultation. And then Friday's class, I am going to do objection handling and how to build a real estate team. I am actually driving to Atlanta tomorrow, and I'm having some work done on my mouth, some cosmetic work. I'm having my whole mouth redone. I'm hoping I could speak on Friday. In the event I can't, I'm going to push the class to Monday. I think I should be fine. I'm going to be in a little bit of pain. I'm losing one of my teeth. I'm losing my front tooth. It broke. So I'm going to go up to Atlanta, and hopefully I'll be able to do the class on Friday, but worst case scenario, I'll push it to Monday. And then last thing, last homework, last house cleaning. Bobby Joe Todd, are you on? Bobby, I see you're on. Bobby, can you hear me? Bobby, can I move you tomorrow to 10 a.m. instead of 11? Yes, you're awesome.
Do you have some time for me? Because I wasn't able, my computer collapsed today. I had to call Apple. And I wasn't able to Zoom with you.
All right, so Rosa, do this. So text me and we'll figure out another time to reschedule that meeting. And everybody else, please reach out to me so I can do the one-on-ones and follow up on my commitment. Hope you guys are getting a lot from the class. I thank you again for taking the time to spend a couple of hours with me today. Really enjoy this class. Great questions, great participation. Michael Friedman, great to see you, buddy. I really have some good friends that are participating in this class. It's really nice to see everybody. Vicki Jackson, who I've known forever. Jim, nice getting to know you. Patty, wonderful class. So, guys, anything you need,
Thank you, Eric.
Yeah. Hey, Eric, if I can toot your horn for just a second, I want to tell you guys, this is the greatest inclusive coaching class that I've probably attended. And that's no small feat, because I'll tell you, I've trained with a lot of coaches where I pay $2,500 or more a month for this same information. And I shouldn't say the same information, for less information than what you're giving us. I mean, I hope you guys are just soaking this up, because this is, it's just awesome. I mean, here I am 15 years and I'm still loving it. I'm excited to sell real estate. Coaches don't do that.
Means a lot coming from you. Thank you. Thank you. Guys, have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye, Eric. Take care.
Eric, thank you.